From phantom footsteps and spectral sightings to anomalous orbs and the occult, join two friends who share a fascination and connection to the unexplained as they examine stories and lore from Maine, New England, regular England, and beyond. Arm yourself with a pillow and wrap yourself in white light as we explore the lighter side of the other side, in between the veil.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, folks.
Welcome back. We hope you all had a lovely week.
Yes.
And we're able to continue following us on our journey through School Spirits 201, Haunted Colleges of New England.
Yes. Can't believe it. We're at the end of January now. Like this month has like flown by.
Really? Yeah. It's been a whirlwind. It feels like I just took down the Christmas decorations.
Right?
Yeah.
And you were like an early taker downer of Christmas decorations.
So I have to be, because if I don't do it, then they'll be up till like February.
Yeah.
Because then I won't find the time.
Yeah.
So in that like holiday break when the kids are out like off of school, like out of school and stuff, like I find the time to just like tear it all down, and like it makes me a little sad, but
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good solid month. That was my point. But
Yes. Yeah.
It's been a month.
Well, yeah,
but it flies by.
As soon as Thanksgiving is done, I'm like, put the tree up. And the boys are like that too. I think Alex would put the tree up like the Christmas day and just call it good. But
you create a great ambiance in your home and get everybody in the spirits. So it's always beautiful.
Yeah. Liam, we went Christmas shopping and he was like, wow, you do all these things. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you do all these things. I think that you're the reason that Christmas is so magical.
Oh, he's such a sweet boy.
And I was like in the car, like,
I love him so much.
I know.
Just so proud of him. He's so empathetic and just so appreciative and thoughtful and grateful. He's a good boy.
He's got his moments.
Oh, we all do, right?
Yeah.
You know, but he has those moments that really shine. And
yeah. Well, we don't have any updates this week.
Right.
Which may or may not be a good thing, but we don't have any updates, but we do have a sign, synchronicity, and spectral sighting. Bow, bow.
Woo!
Okay, I have one.
Okay.
It's an update.
We love updates.
From last week.
Okay.
So I told you guys last week about how I was falling asleep and then I could hear something in the kitchen rifling through the drawers and cabinets.
Creepy.
Yeah. And then, kind of walking in between the kitchen and the living room. So I eventually did fall asleep and then I didn't hear, and I subsequently hadn't heard it since, right? And this is on the heels of Kyle having stayed at our house to watch Seamus and him having some kind of, spectral sighting there too. So I, last Thursday, went to go get my hair cut and Alex was in the office. So nobody's home except for the dog. So
Alex is away, not in the home office.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
so just the dog's
he's
home.
At his office in Falmouth.
I see.
And
okay.
Yeah, he's not in our home office.
Okay.
He's at his actual office. So it's just Seamus at home. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, me, Pisces, I'm not thinking about anything. So go get my hair cut. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love my hair.
I was going to say, when I saw you, it looked so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything to it other than get it cut.
Okay.
And so, because I had said to her, like, I really want to embrace my grays. And like, if I'm going to start going white, then I just want to embrace that. She was like, no, I love that for you, except for like, you don't have enough of them to really like do that. So she's like, you should still just like play with it and have fun with it until like they come in. And she's like, and when they do, we'll just keep doing like little highlights. And then like eventually we'll like change color and stuff. So I probably am like aging myself like way faster. Yeah. And just to get it kind of over with.
It looks beautiful. I'm going to tell you that earlier.
You. Yes, thank you. So, anyway, I'm like, oh, my hair. So I get home. Seamus barely even gets up. Right, this dog lives better than most humans. He barely gets up, but he looks at me. And he gets like this big stretch, and he's like, "Oh, hi, mama." And I was like, "No, please don't get up."
If it was Auntie, he'd be running to the door.
Oh yeah, he would have like
Auntie,
sprinted and then like tried to like wrap around your neck like a mink fur or something. He's so weird. He only does that with you. Like he doesn't jump. He jumps on people, but he doesn't do this wild craziness in the same way where he's like, I have to wrap myself. I have to become your scarf. Like he doesn't do that with other people.
I love you so much. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he's kind of like that with Tony a little bit.
Yeah, he likes Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he loves people, but
and he loves Kyle.
Yes, he does. Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, oh, Seamus, please don't do me any favors. So I walk into the kitchen, and the first thing I notice is that when you walk into our kitchen, you see two cabinets, and those cabinet doors are open. Ooh. And I was like, oh, that's weird. But then like I come around the corner, and the cabinet so there's 3 other cabinets, so 6 drawers total.
Right.
The cabinet that has our plates and cups, those 2 are open, and then both drawers are open, and then the cabinet that has like all our Tupperware and stuff, one of those is like open, but it's open all the way. So if you in my quest to be a Pinterest DIYer, like hardcore, I was like, I'm gonna sand the cabinet doors and I'm gonna paint them. This was like 6 years ago.
I was gonna say, I don't remember this happening. So it's been a while.
Because it hasn't happened. No, I didn't do shit. So, I mean, I sanded them, but then I was like, I'm tired of sanding. And then Alex was like, well, we have to put them back on. And I was like, I guess. So he put them back on. Anyway, classic chat. So they don't have any hardware. Like there's no handles to open them. And that's kind of the annoying thing is I took them all off, but they were like very large, obnoxious. They would like protrude out like 4 or 5 inches. It was like kind of a weird thing. Yeah. So I took all that hardware off. So the doors do kind of open slightly. Like they will kind of like waft open a little bit.
Like, but not even an inch, like a half an inch or yes. I'm not very good with the measurement thing, but not very like,
no, it's just enough.
Not really noticeable, just kind of slightly open.
They're slightly opened, and that's just kind of how they are. And I think a large part of that's because there's no weight kind of pushing them forward. Right. So fine. But the cabinet doors were wide open.
Like all the way open.
All the way open. And I could see like Alex maybe grabbing a snack.
And leaving one and like in a rush and running out the door or something.
But to leave them all open, that's not.
Did you take a picture?
Of course I didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Of course I didn't. I was like, I literally walked in and I was like, oh, because if Alex had walked in, he would have been like, why didn't you, like logically would have been like, Kathy, why did you leave all these drawers open? Which is something I would probably do. Like if I'm like looking, I'm not paying attention. Again, the Pisces in me is just sort of like chaos. But you
didn't do that.
Oh no, I 100% didn't do it. Cause I specifically was like, well, I'm not going to eat anything. Right. I'm going to go get my hair done. I'll come back and I'll eat something. And that was the intent. I took my coat off, I put it down and I was like, oh, those cabinets are open. Maybe he just left them open cause he was getting a snack. But then to see them all open again. And I haven't asked him. 1, because I forgot. But 2, also because I'm like, oh God, I have to like ease him into this because otherwise he's going to be like, oh yeah. What? Especially because I didn't tell him about like, oh, I heard something in the kitchen the other day. Somebody in the kitchen the other day rifling through all our shit. Like he is, I think it might.
Make it go away.
Yeah. I mean, he's
maybe this is a tulpa from when Nano pretended like there's a spirit in there. Or no, you guys know we thought it was Alice, right?
Yes, we did think it was Alice. Oh my God.
Maybe you guys created something in addition to Alice.
In addition to Alice?
I'm just coming up with different theories. It could be Alice's husband. It could be a tulpa.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But whatever it is was like clearly is very much there. And part of me is like, oh, like, do you think that you live here? Right. Like you think this is your house and like you are enjoying our food and our, you're using our plates and stuff.
Did anything else get moved around besides the closets being open or the doors?
The doors were just open. And that was it. But so I was like, I walk in and I'm like, huh. Okay. So then but I'm like, I know that there's just no way that Alex did this. Like, I just know, like, why would he do this? And on top of that, he didn't even take anything with him. Like he came home and was like, I'm so hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. We know enough. So you haven't told Alex about this?
No.
Are you listening, Alex? Are you finding out right now?
I mean, I can just see him listening and then he'll like lean in and look at me like, for real. So yeah, I shut them. Okay. I gently closed them and I was like, I'm going to close these because they shouldn't be open. Okay.
I have an idea.
And he wasn't home. I was just me. And Seamus is just like, this bitch is talking to herself again.
Have you seen where like people will put like baby powder on the floor? It wouldn't really work because your floor is light colored. But if we had like a colored talcum powder that we put on the floor to see if there's like footprints and like keep Seamus upstairs.
You know what we should do?
What?
So I saw somebody do this on TikTok before it got banned. Okay. And to be fair, I wasn't really on TikTok a lot anyway.
I know.
Of the 4 or 5 times that I actually used the app.
Still heartbroken, but it might be up by the time this episode comes out.
No, yeah, no, I was not heartbroken because I don't know the difference because I only used it a couple of times. But there's this girl that I saw who I have no idea, but she's like, yes, I live in this really old house. It's from the 1800s.
Yep.
And I know that I have spirits here. So I'm going to communicate with them through my
Is she
refrigerator
writing-
magnets.
Yes, I follow her too.
So we
I forgot
got
her name.
We got that game. Well, I don't think I
Yes.
followed her, but like, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But like, she, you know, that ransom notes.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I should
You should
take
do
that out.
Yes.
And then,
It'd be a lot cleaner than doing the purple talcum powder on the floor that Melly wants to do. To see the footprints.
yes. I'm going to offer both suggestions to Alex and
I
see what
know.
he's. Yeah,
But Alex will mess with, I mean, he'd probably mess with both, to be honest. I mean,
well, no, because he
do you
would
think
want.
he would leave the.
I think he would leave it.
Okay.
I think he would leave it, and
Okay.
then I know we'd probably get something, and then he would be like, take it down and put it away and get rid of the game.
Yeah. Let's do it. I want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think we should because she was like, yeah, she left them in like a cube. So
Yeah.
they were
I remember
separated,
seeing that.
but they were
She
in
would
like
write it on her
yeah.
little like grocery list sheet.
Yes.
And then she'd cross off, each day she'd write a new question.
Yes.
And she also had people, I mean, this is very much like she had her cabinet doors opened, like they were messing around with her,
Yeah.
like lots of different things.
Yeah.
Do you want cookies? I think that was one of her questions. Like, what cookies do you prefer?
Yes. Or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to, I definitely think that that's something I'm going to have to do in my next step of investigation.
Yeah,
And
I think so.
I'll vlog this or something
Yes.
and keep you guys posted. Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you need? Like, what do you want? And that, or they might be really pissed because we just started a subscription to Thrive Market and we're not sponsored. But if you want to sponsor
All the
us-
healthy treats. I mean, they're still
Yes.
tasty though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been getting the subscription and we have like certain things that we know the boys really like.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other things that we'll like add one of these and one of those to try them out and see. So part of me was like, oh, I think Alex thinks your subscription box sucks. Because she's like, what is this bullshit? I want like the sugar and the gluten and all
Yeah.
the dyes, you
Yeah.
know? So he was like, how dare you? He's like, Alice loves my subscription box. But I don't know. So I'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'll do this and I'll keep you guys
Yes.
posted. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So we're in Massachusetts.
Yes, we're in Northampton, Massachusetts at Smith College.
Mm.
And the reason I picked Smith College is because when I was searching for the most haunted colleges in America, Smith College was number one.
Ooh.
So it's ranked by College Consensus as number one.
For hauntings.
For hauntings.
Oh.
In America, it's the only college in New England on that list, surprisingly, which is so if we do we've been talking about wanting to do like another series later on in the year.
Yeah.
We can like explore like all of America and see
Yeah.
some of these other colleges too. But yeah,
I'm surprised it's the only New England college on there since we've just covered a whole bunch of them in the
I
last 4
know,
weeks that
I
are pretty
know.
fucking haunted.
right.
Yeah.
So like places even more haunted than that.
Oh
Like,
my God.
gosh,
That just, I can't handle con college. I can't imagine going anywhere else more haunted than that. Well, apparently we're going to check out
Yes.
Smith. So great.
Okay. So, and also I think it's really apropos that we're doing Smith College this week after we did Plymouth State last week,
Yeah.
because Smith is also founded by a woman.
Yes.
And there's definitely a lot of synchronicity there. And I bet you they knew each other as well. So
Oh,
I'm really
okay.
thinking we'll have to do a little research now.
Okay.
Okay. So Smith College is a private liberal arts college in Northampton, Mass. And it was chartered in 1871 by Sophia Smith. And it opened in 1875. And it's a member of the historic Seven Sisters Colleges, which is a group of women's colleges in northeastern United States.
Yep.
And those colleges are Barnard in New York, and that's in New York City, Bryn Mawr in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, Mount Holyoke in South Hadley, Massachusetts. Smith is the largest all-women's college in our country. So we're one of them. Not that I'm a member of Smith, but
Yeah.
I am talking with them today.
It's the royal we.
The Royal We, yes. Vassar College, like I know you mentioned that last
Yep.
episode, in Poughkeepsie, New York. But Vassar has since become co-ed in 1969.
Oh,
It's the only one that's co-ed.
we'll allow it.
Yes. Wellesley College in Wellesley, Massachusetts. And
Who was also, what was I going to say? Modeled after Mount Holyoke.
right.
Yep.
And then Radcliffe College in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Okay.
It's also a member of the 5 College Consortium with 4 other institutions in the Pioneer Valley, and that includes Mount Holyoke, Amherst, Hampshire College, and the University of Massachusetts Amherst.
Oh.
And so basically those 5 colleges, you're allowed to take any classes at each other's universities or colleges. Yeah.
I love that.
That's really cool.
Yep.
So it was founded in 1870 with the substantial estate that Sophia inherited when her father had passed away, who was a wealthy farmer. And also her 6 siblings ahead of her had all passed away. So
Oh my God.
So yeah, so it was all left to her. And she,
How old was she? Doesn't say.
well, I think, I'm not exactly sure. 1870. I'll have to look up her
Okay.
date of birth. But then my next line is that she had been deaf since the age of 40, and she was unmarried. And she initially considered endowing this money to the Institute for the Deaf.
She went deaf at 40?
Yes, I don't know why.
Oh.
I don't know if it was, sometimes people lose their hearing because of a disease.
Right.
Lee, if you want to look that up for us. But if not, we'll get an update. But then she changed her mind when the Clark School for the Deaf opened in Northampton in Massachusetts, like in the same town. So she's like, no, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to found a college here for women.
Yeah.
So she decided to endow the money into the college's fund. And upon her death in June 12th, 1870, her fortune of $387,468 was willed to endow Smith College, which was then chartered a year later, and then it opened its doors 5 years later.
Okay.
And at the time, there was only 14 students and 6 faculty when it opened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so small.
And she really felt that willing her money for a women's college was her moral obligation. Her will states, I hereby make the following provisions for the establishment and maintenance of an institution for the higher education of young women, with a design to furnish for my own sex means and facilities for education equal to those which are afforded in our colleges to young men. You go, girl.
I love that. I love that. She paved the way for the rest of us.
Yeah, so another
amazing
badass woman here.
Yes, in education.
Yes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, there's some interesting history, and some of the stuff I'm going to reference we'll come back to.
Okay.
One is a little bit dark here. But during the 1920s, there were 2 students at the college that went missing.
Ooh.
Junior Alice Corbett disappeared on November 13th, 1925, and was never found. And then freshman Frances Smith disappeared on January 13th, 1928. And then her body was recovered from the Connecticut River several months later.
Oh, God.
So we'll talk about that as we get on a little bit more when we get to the hauntings.
Okay.
Another really interesting part of Smith College is that the United States Naval Reserve Midshipman School was held there, and it was a training grounds for junior officers of the Women's Reserve of the United States Naval Reserve, which is called WAVES.
Oh.
It was also nicknamed the USS Northampton.
Okay.
And on August 28th, 1942, a total of 120 women reported to the school for this training.
Wow.
It's also very cool for African American history is that Lieutenant Junior Grade Harriet Ida Pickens and Ensign Francis Willis were the first African American WAVES to be commissioned, and they were members of the final graduating class of the U.S. Navy Reserve Midshipman School, Northampton, Massachusetts, on December 21st of 1944.
I am obsessed with that.
Right? So women of color
Yes.
were able to attend and then serve their country.
Yes. I love that.
So by 2010, the school had 2,600 undergraduates on campus and 250 students studying elsewhere. The campus landscape now encompasses 147 acres and includes more than 1,200 varieties of trees and shrubs. That's interesting and random. Sorry. Smith is the largest.
Good to know.
Largestly privately endowed college for women in the United States. I probably should have taken that out. There's a lot of trees and shrubs, people. A lot of varieties. Actually, I mean, that's really interesting if you're studying ecology and things like that.
Yeah.
1,200 varieties.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're taking a campus tour, now you've got a talking point. Guys, there's so many varieties of trees and shrubs
here. So Smith has 50 academic departments and programs and is structured around an open curriculum with requirements being a writing intensive class during the first year and the fulfillment of a major. Undergraduate admissions are exclusively restricted to women, although Smith announced a trans-inclusive admissions policy in 2015.
Yes. Yes, you did.
And they offer several graduate degrees, all of which accept applicants regardless of sex and gender, and co-administers programs alongside the 5 consortium members.
Right. Yep.
This college was the first historically women's college to offer an undergraduate engineering degree.
Ooh.
And their graduate program is open to applicants of all genders. They have degrees in teaching, Master of Education of the Deaf,
Aw.
Master of Science in Biological Studies, Master of Science in Exercise and Sports Studies, and a Master and PhD in Social Work.
Nice.
And again, they have cooperative doctoral programs co-administered with Amherst, Hampshire, Mount Holyoke, and UMass Amherst.
Nice.
So some notable alumna include, alumna, because it's AE, ending in AE instead of I, because these are all females.
Yes.
This is Latin.
Right.
You don't say alumni if it's both, like genders,
right.
but okay. So that's my Latin geek coming out. Is Margaret Mitchell, the author of Gone with the Wind. Sylvia,
I didn't know that.
Yep, Sylvia Plath, the poet and author of The Bell Jar. Julia Child, the chef and TV personality. Nancy Reagan, the 40th First Lady. Barbara Bush, the 41st First Lady. Gloria Steinem, the feminist activist. Betty Friedman, the feminist activist. Yolanda King, the civil rights activist. And Jane Yolen, a children's author.
That's cool.
Yeah.
A lot of activists.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get to the hauntings.
Ooh.
So what's really cool about Smith, it's so haunted. As I said, it's supposedly the most haunted college in America.
Yeah.
And again, I think college, not university. I think that is a different list.
Yep.
So
Just because of the size.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have their own like documentation of this, meaning like you could write in your experiences and like document it. And it's on their website and it's called Smithopedia.
Okay.
I think it's a blog and there's, but it's for Smith EDU.
But just for hauntings.
Parts of it, like there's a section that are just for the hauntings that they write in about it. And there's sections for other things too, but it's on Smithopedia.
Oh my God. So
that's where I got a lot of my, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to do it by houses.
Okay.
So the first house is located at 150 Elm Street, and it's called the Rothman House. It was built in the late 1800s, and it was named in honor of Eleanor Rothman, who was the founding director of Smith's Ada Comstock Scholars Program for non-traditional age students.
Oh.
Since it was established in 1975, a total of 2,482 women, ranging in age from their 20s to their mid-80s, have earned Smith degrees as Ada Comstock Scholars, which is super cool.
That is very cool.
Rothman directed this program for 23 years. So that's what this house is named for.
Yep.
So they talk about that there's no specific house ghost in this, but one resident was kind enough to share her recollections. She recounts that one event involved the bathroom broom closet constantly being open.
Oh.
Even when nobody opened it, it would just be open. She would ask, there was a previous deceased owner of the house named Miss Clara. When she would say, oh, please, Miss Clara, don't do that, then it would stay closed. So,
oh my
like,
gosh.
because people could say, like, did you step on the floorboard and then it just would pop open, or did it,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you'd kind of notice that. But like if you left it was open, did somebody want, but when she asked Miss Clara, then it would stay closed.
Huh. Interesting. Maybe I need to try that.
Yeah. Maybe you should have. Yeah. Or not. Like, let's talk to this ghost and see.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
First. Then you can tell him to say, like, okay, please don't do that.
Yeah. Start with the dishwasher, please.
Yeah. Do you want to put the dishes away, please? Thank you. Another event at Rothman is like, there's mysterious knockings on the walls and the ceilings in one of the upstairs bedrooms after the lights are turned off. The resident could not discover the cause of the noise, but attributed it as like a goodnight message from the spirit. So I was like, okay, thanks. Thanks for saying hi or night. Yeah. The final
lights out.
Lights out. Yeah. The final incident occurred on the second floor. A group of students were waiting for their friend who had lived on the second floor. Moments after locking her door, she realized she had left something inside her room. So she went to unlock it, turned to go back in, and upon unlocking the door, she found that she couldn't open the door as a bookcase next to it had been moved in front of the door, so it wedged the door shut.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, this was just like moment, not even like a minute,
Right.
Like, yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah. They eventually were able to manage to get it open, but there was no mechanism for moving the shelf that was found and moved in front of the door.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a whole fucking bookshelf.
Yeah. Creepy, huh?
Yeah. Transfer.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, like I said before, I don't know.
There's no place. Yeah.
I don't know where you're going to transfer to because all of these schools are fucking haunted.
You're going to study from home on your laptop.
Yes.
Like asynchronous study. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to the next house. It's called Baldwin House.
Okay.
So this was built at the turn of the century, and when they say that, they mean 1908 and not 2000.
Yeah.
And it's on campus housing. At the time during that period, they were building more houses because there were like fewer than half of the students were able to live on campus housing. Mm-hmm. So it's a large brick ivy covered building on Bedford Terrace, and it was constructed to permit 77 students to live in the college housing.
Okay.
And they say while there's no historic evidence to support ghost stories in Baldwin, residents still claim about hauntings to occur. So I think there's like no documented deaths or anything like that would indicate it. But we know spirit can travel and could be tied to the land.
In some way, shape, or form, yeah.
Right. So most of the stories are centered around the attic and the upper stories.
Ugh, of course.
The fourth floor residents, which is the highest floor, recount hearing noises ranging from footsteps to banging to dragging of large objects in the attic late at night on numerous occasions. Oh. And though they'll examine, the attic doors, which are completely locked.
Yeah. Yeah. No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't. Like, it's the dragging stuff. Like, what kind of powerful being is there that's able to move that kind of shit?
Right.
Because I just try and move the couch and I'm like sweating. I've got labored breathing.
Right. And then you think if they can do that, what else can they do? That's where it really becomes creepy,
Right.
Like, it's creepy in general, but then you're like, oh, okay, don't give power to that. Don't give power to that. Yeah.
And we have modular couching. I mean, you could just push it with your finger and move it. I'm like, oh my God. Can't even imagine moving a fucking bookcase.
Right.
Dragging it across in an attic.
It's like, wake up. I want you to wake up and know I'm here.
Yes. Oh, yuck.
Another story involves damp footsteps.
Ew.
Leading from the old location of the fourth floor bathroom, which has changed some years prior to this, to the attic. Another resident had the attic door slammed shut as she was about to enter the attic, and another had the attic lights turn out only to find that nobody was there.
Yuck. Oh my God, my skin's crawling.
So she must have had the key to get in. Maybe they do put stuff up there for storage.
And there were wet footsteps?
Wet footsteps from the old bathroom, which was no longer a bathroom. It used to be a bathroom, but wet footsteps. Yeah. I listened to this other podcast called Woo Woo with Rachel Dratch and her best friend Irene Remis, which is really fun because they're comedians.
It is really
funny. But they believe in obviously the woo woo, but they joke a lot. But this week's episode was about it was like called The Soggy People.
Ew.
Yeah. Yep. And they interview famous people.
End scene.
And actually the person they interviewed was the guy from oh my God. I just lost it. Remember the soap opera we watched in high school?
Passions?
Yes, he's from Passions. I'm like, oh my God, Chad has to listen to this episode. But it was a story about his brother. They lived in Chicago and they kept waking up to having like soggy places in their bedroom. Like they'd leave and they had like a bag of clothes going to Goodwill. And when they came back, they were on vacation, they came back, the whole bag was wet and things would just be wet in there. But we're like, what's going on? They checked the pipes and everything to see where there was like a leak. And anyways, I'm not going to spoil it for you. You guys should listen to the episode. It's really, really good.
Oh my God.
So it just made me think of that because I just listened to that episode.
Ew. So someone is clearly having bathed and then coming out of that.
Even though there is no bathtub.
Even though there is no bathtub.
Is just reliving that. They love to take a bath or something. Yeah.
Or something happened in the tub.
Maybe something happened. Yeah. I'm thinking on the positive side, but we are talking about ghosts here.
Gross.
I'm perpetually going to bathe myself as a ghost and then
just leave.
Wet. Yeah.
Just, it's Melly. How do you know? They're just wet everywhere.
You know what I'm talking about? I do. I do. We're not going to explain it. But yes, I do.
Oh God. Okay. Moving on.
So they also have on the third floor, one down from the fourth.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm just so not like the attic is not above this floor, but they have the lights will be turned on and off for no apparent reason. And the last thing is that a resident has reported seeing a translucent figure walk through the wall, pause at her roommate's bed, and then exit back through the wall.
Oh,
Yeah,
like a full body apparition.
full body, but translucent. Obviously, you could see
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
You can see through it.
yeah,
Nope.
yes.
Nope. That's a hard pass. Ew. Yuck.
And so the rumor is that the hauntings are caused by one of the old house mothers, which is similar to some of the others, like Yomo that we've talked about.
Yeah.
That she turns the lights off to tell students studying late that it's time to go to bed. So playing with the lights.
Yeah. I said lights out.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm still laughing at it.
I know. Okay, so the next house we're moving on to is Chase. It was originally built in 1827.
Okay.
And it's occupied by prominent local families. It was until it was established for a school for girls by Mary A. Burnham in the 1870s.
Oh.
The Burnham School was then incorporated into Smith College and specifically as a campus house in 1968. And it's named for Mary Ellen Chase, who is an accomplished writer and professor of English literature at Smith.
Oh, okay.
So this is probably the most gruesome of stories at
than Con College.
Yeah, but not in much detail as Con College. So we talked about that for a bit. But as the story goes, prior to the house's acquisition by the college in 1968, and even prior to the establishment as a girls' school in the 1870s, it was a boarding house for single working women.
Oh.
And one of the boarders had become pregnant out of wedlock. And in order
no.
to disguise her shame, she had a friend kill the baby immediately after its birth. And then she subsequently killed herself.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a hard decision, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a.
And then she couldn't live with what happened.
Right. It's a crime of passion.
Yeah.
And so not premeditated.
Right.
But a crime of passion. You don't know what to do. You feel like you're in a really tough spot. So you make this really rash decision. And then you're like, nope, that was the wrong choice. And I'm a horrible person now.
And I can't live with
and
myself.
I can't live with myself. Yeah.
So their school paper is called the Sophian, which is so cool that her name is Sophia Smith. Sophia means wisdom in Greek. And their newspaper is called the Sophian.
Yeah.
But there's an article that says, in death, she was reunited with her baby and now carries it in her arms as she traverses the house. Her footsteps are heard clearly. And so are the occasional wails of the baby. Yeah. So that's what that house is known for. I don't know if anybody would want to live in that house if they knew.
After that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. And like subsequently, like many years after. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you find that out, like.
You're like, why am I hearing a baby scream? Like there's no babies here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next house is Northrop House. And this is a 4.5-story red brick building with white wood trim. It was built by Charles Rich in the Georgian Revival style, and it opened in 1911. Oh. So the Northrop House has kind of a slightly romantic story, I guess. The tale that goes is that there was a Northrop resident known only as Francine, and she went to Italy her junior year abroad and fell in love with an Italian named Francino.
Of course.
And
Francine and Francino.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They remained in correspondence and planned to elope, but then letters abruptly stopped.
Oh.
And she was heartbroken and disappeared, and they finally presumed her being dead. And so what happens is there was a rocking chair that she left behind, and it has been said to be, people have observed this rocking without any movement, like anybody sitting in it, just it rocks on its own. And again, in the Sophian, a girl in 1968 in Francine's room witnessed this phenomenon with her own rocking chair. Like she brought a rocking chair with her.
Yeah.
And that chair is rocking back and forth. And then, so the article then said, like, there's no record of a missing Smith student by the name of Francine available. However, as I mentioned earlier, there was a Frances Smith that went missing and disappeared in January 13th of 1928. And then her body was later found in the Connecticut River. So I'm wondering if they just changed the name. It's very similar.
Right.
Though Frances was a freshman, not a junior in the story.
Okay.
But things change. It's like telephone as you know.
Right. As the stories get passed, there's things that get mixed up, muddled.
Right. So that's pretty similar,
Or
so.
people's own interpretation of what they think,
Right. They thought they heard and remembered.
Yes, they accidentally create a story that doesn't exist because it's unintentional, right? They think they remember it a certain way.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the next house is Park House. And this is an elaborate residence with a view of Paradise Pond. And it was built in 1880. In 1909, the house was acquired by Emily Mulbin, who rented it off as off-campus housing for Smith students. When Smith acquired the property in 1923, Miss Melbourne, that house became known as Park House.
Okay.
And it was named for original trustee of the college, Reverend Edwards Amasa Park.
Okay.
So the ghost story this one's based on fact. They have this documented. And it features the tragic story of an accidental death by one of the residents, Jean M. Robeson, in 1925. She was a senior who was found in the third floor kitchenette on November 13th, and she died of asphyxiation. She had been in the kitchenette in the evening doing ironing and had turned on the gas stove. But before she could light it, she either tripped or fainted or hit her head. And she remained unconscious for the whole night and slowly asphyxiated on the gas from the stove.
Oh my God.
And because the door to the kitchenette and nearby bedrooms were closed, no residents noticed the smells of the gas until the morning when she was discovered. And so at Park House, the students see a ghostly woman figure in the kitchen.
Oh my God. Oh,
yeah.
Like I have chills up my whole spine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to that a little bit later.
Okay.
Not more about the hauntings, but there's an interesting connection.
Okay.
So we're moving on to Sessions House. And I think, like when you talk about the tunnels at Plymouth State, this is kind of when they talk about, there's so many hauntings here, but when they talk about Smith, a lot of people, this is like the first one you get the most information on.
Okay.
So Sessions House was built in 1710 by Captain Jonathan Hunt. And the house was the first in Northampton to be built outside of the stockade, which was the main military complex in Northampton.
Okay.
And he had a unique staircase that was originally designed as a secret passageway used during colonization by the Hunts, as it was a place to hide when the Native Americans tried to reclaim their land. And to protect against attack, he built this secret passage that went out. It went underground and it went out to the river nearby.
Okay.
And it also has been used. It was used during the Civil War as part of the Underground Railroad.
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah.
So this is the most well-known Smith ghost story by far, and it dates back to the Revolutionary War. So there was a General John, in quotes, Gentleman Johnny Burgoyne. He was the general of the British Army in 1777.
I was going to say, my gosh.
200 years later. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got excellent skincare routine.
Yeah. And he was captured and held prisoner in Sessions House. And he fell in love with Lucy, the daughter of the lieutenants who owned this house.
Ugh, bad news.
Right. Because he was a British soldier, the love was forbidden. And the rumor is that the lovers would meet on the secret staircase hidden in the house.
It was because of the accent. That's what did it, right?
Totally.
I know. Yeah.
Eventually, General Burgoyne did escape. And they would meet there like on the secret staircase and in the passageway.
They would rendezvous.
Yes. And the fate of Lucy is less clear, but people say that she went into decline and eventually died.
Like of a broken heart.
Yes,
Damn,
that's what it
girl.
alludes to. And so given the ghost in Sessions House, it holds that General Burgoyne is still wandering Sessions House looking for his love. Well, other stories have that the two ghostly lovers are still rendezvousing on the secret staircase.
Oh, do they hear like sexy time?
They hear noises. Yeah, they definitely do.
Forget darling, suck it.
And it's still a real feature. The staircases is still a real feature. So every Halloween, young women at Sessions House are allowed to search for the hidden passageway and for the souls that are supposedly said to haunt it there.
Yeah.
So for 20 minutes on that night, they search the nooks and crannies of the house without any light, looking for the passage that contains the spirits. And if you find the passage, it's supposed to be like you're honored to find it. Like it's a huge tradition.
Yeah. Like the ghosts are saying, like, we're allowing you to do it. Like, we've chosen you.
Right. And the house mother or whoever is there, like this is like, they're like, okay, girls, now you get to,
It's fine.
Fine. Yeah. Go look for it. And if you're the one to find it, then it's because I guess it's very hidden, which then it's like, oh, you're the lucky one, but it's without lights.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yuck.
So
So are they like just searching like crawling around and like feeling or?
I think so, because there's a couple other ghost stories affiliated with this and you'll find out. So another one tells a tale of a mother and her 2 children who are alone in the home one night telling ghost stories and scaring each other.
Oh, classic.
Right?
Yeah.
The mother thought that she heard a noise and grabbed an axe to protect her family.
What?
Wait, what? It's pretty, drastic. She began searching the house, eventually making it back to the room where her children were. And she thought her children were intruders who had broken into the house, and she killed them. And then when she saw her mistake, she killed herself in the room. And this is on the 3rd floor of the house.
Wait, what year was this?
It didn't say. And again, I'm like, is this urban legend? Or because it didn't really say.
Yeah.
But this was built in 1710.
Okay.
And it didn't until 1875 is when the college opened.
Okay.
So
sometime between that.
Yeah.
But my
a lot of time.
God, girl, like you wouldn't stop and think like.
And how do they know that they were telling ghost stories if she then killed her? You know what I mean? Like there was some like,
Yeah.
It's kind of a little like urban legendy,
Right.
you know.
Unless they've made contact subsequently since then for them to
Maybe.
be like, we were telling ghost stories.
Right.
And we were trying to scare each other. And I axed my children.
I know.
Because I thought they were intruders.
I mean, maybe they had somebody come in and do a session or something, like multiple sessions to figure that out in sessions. Yeah. The other famous tale from Session House takes place after it had become a dorm. And, it's part of, it actually has to do with how they do this like Halloween passage hunt, for the secret staircase. It said 2 girls were found who found this secret passage, but they fell into a hole in the staircase and either broke their necks or injured themselves and then starved to death.
What?
Local lore says the girls can be heard as you near the staircase. Some say the ghost might also try to push or drag you into the hole.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I don't know if you
Starved
want
to death. Like
Yeah.
no one would hear them?
I guess not.
What the heck?
Yeah. Which then kind of perfectly. Is it this one? Okay. Yeah. This next house has a similar situation.
Where someone falls into a hole and starves to death.
Well, not a hole, but gets trapped in a room. Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay. So Talbot,
You people have to pay more attention.
it's like your hide and seek story, the bride that
That's true.
and was in a
Yes.
trunk and nobody heard her and she
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's because she went into the attic.
Again, this is why I'm not wanting to be in a closet or anything like that. That could
Yes.
lock.
Well, she was like in a secret room in the attic that she like put the trunk. Like, girl, what
This
did
is
you
a
think was
secret
going to happen?
passageway that it takes people a while to
Yeah.
find. So
What did you think was going to happen, girl? Come on.
yeah,
Like epic hiding spot. We get it. You win.
you really win. Yeah, you were never found until way too late.
Oh.
Okay, so we're at Talbot House, and this was built in 1909, and it was originally part of the Capon School, which is a private school run by Miss Bessie Capon in the early 1900s.
Okay.
It was acquired by Smith College in 1921, and there's 2 ghosts at Talbot House. The first is one of your favorites,
Ugh.
a mysterious woman in a white dress
Ugh.
who runs across the porch late at night.
Girl, why?
She's also been seen standing under the streetlights in front of the house, as well as the light in the parking lot behind Talbot and Lamont.
She's boo.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like she likes the lights and wants to be in the spotlight, and like she's underneath the lights. She'll pop out or she'll run across the porch. Yeah.
That's so random.
Yes.
Like she's really trying to get your attention.
She is.
Hey.
She's always in a white dress, and it looks like a wedding gown. She has long brown hair. She's of average height. She runs across the porch. She jumps over the rail and then disappears.
Oh my God,
she's pretty active.
Feral. She's like, I gotta stay in shape for when my man comes back, and also to be in the spotlight.
Right? But
Hey guys, watch this.
I'm gonna get your attention. But then when you actually see me under the streetlights or in the parking lot, the woman in white stares off vacantly until she acknowledges your presence, and then she disappears.
Yuck. That's
Yeah.
kind of like Sarah Ware,
Yeah.
where she'll like see you and then her head will fall off.
Oh God. Yeah.
And then she's like, oh shit, I gotta go get my head.
I gotta go get my head. Oh, sorry to scare you. You know it's
Yeah.
me. I lost
I
my
didn't
head.
mean to scare you, but you should know that my head fell off.
Yeah. This is how I died.
Yeah.
Okay, so the better known ghost in Talbot House is of Thomas.
Thomas.
And this is where, yeah.
Oh.
Thomas was a little boy. This actually makes me angry a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Thomas was a little boy who was killed by his friends in quotes, because they weren't his friends.
Clearly.
When the house was used by Bessie Capon at her school.
Okay.
Because Thomas was chubby and not as quick as the other boys, he was teased and mistreated by his peers. One winter, the boys were playing a game of hide and seek, and they asked Thomas to play. He was thrilled with the invitation, and since the boys were generally not nice to him, he joined the game, thinking they'd be nice to him this time.
Right.
But unfortunately, the boys' invitation was just another cruel joke. And when the game started, two of the boys led Thomas up into the attic. They told him to go in first, and they would come back in behind him. But instead, they slammed the door shut. And as soon as he was up the stairs and and they locked the door, they ran away on him. A few days later, Thomas was reported missing. And when the teachers came to the attic, they found Thomas, who had died of dehydration. Thomas still resides in Talbot.
My blood is boiling.
Right.
I would fucking oh my God. I don't advocate for like brutality against children in any way, shape, or form, but I'm telling you right now, if somebody did something like that to my kids, I don't think that I could hold back.
I know, it'd be like that fit of crime of passion, like anger, like protection, like just like that. Ugh.
Poor Thomas.
Right. So the attic is now locked, but before it was locked, Thomas would frequent the 4th floor bathroom. He would turn on the faucets, flush the toilets, and sometimes would be seen washing his hands. He's very hygienic.
Yeah.
But he's a little like emoting Myrtle. I mean, he's not crying or anything, but he likes the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then one family weekend, a mother had an entire conversation with Thomas while she was using the bathroom there. And as she walked out of the bathroom, she turned back to say goodbye, and he had disappeared.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
So did she know that she was talking to a ghost, or was she just like,
no,
hey,
he looked like a little boy. Like she thought he was like maybe another, like a sibling or something. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh.
And so the attic has since been locked. Talbotiers, as they call the housemates of Talbot Hall.
Oh,
or
so
Talbot
Thomas
House.
can't get out now?
Well,
That's triggering.
I mean, he probably can go through walls, I'm thinking, but it's locked, I guess. I don't know. That Talbotiers that reside on the 4th floor can hear footsteps and running through the ceiling. Sometimes there are faint knockings on the attic door, which is, like kind of triggering since he was locked there and that's how he died.
Right. So he's probably trying to like run his way through.
Right. They need to cross him over to the light. This poor kid. Yeah.
Poor kid.
Okay. We have 2 houses left.
Okay.
And then an interesting story. Okay. So Haynes House, formerly known as Wilder House, is one of 10 houses on the quad. So there's this like quadrangle. And in 1922, again, there's a lot of women wanting to come to college. And so there was a shortage on campus. So they built 10 houses that line the quad.
Ooh.
And so Haynes House is formerly known as Wilder. They have a house ghost named Gloria.
Gloria.
Whoa. How many syllables are in Gloria if you're a Catholic?
48,000.
The spirit of a student who unfortunately hung herself in a downstairs room. And as the Sophian article from the 1970s states, no one knows of any apparent reason for her death, but they attribute it to an unhappy love affair.
Nobody is worth that.
Right.
I've said it.
It's like the girls in Con College.
Yes, I said it before. Nobody is worth that. Nobody is worth that kind of like time and energy and space. Ugh.
Yeah.
You have value.
So the report continues that Gloria's spirit is said to have remained in Wilder, former Wilder, now Haynes.
Yeah.
Her footsteps are heard in the attic. And in the article, they actually had a recording of the footsteps by a student. Like they recorded hearing them. But there is no record of anybody committing suicide in Wilder or Haynes.
Oh.
But they do see a woman dressed from an earlier time period. That's all they said. They didn't describe which time period, but I'm thinking like the 20s or 30s.
Sure.
Or maybe 40s.
In a white dress.
Yes. I mean, they see a woman dressed and they're like, she doesn't
She's
belong
out of
here.
place.
Yeah, out of place. Yeah.
She's out of place. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The last house that they talked about a haunting at, there wasn't a ton of detail, but because it's a famous person, I wanted to go in and talk about why she may haunt it.
Ooh, okay.
So, Haven House was named after Eliza Haven, a woman who lived nearby. and she had donated all her money to the astronomy department after she died. And so they actually call Haven House the House of the Stars.
Oh,
Which is actually kind of, I mean, not that this person was a star or anything, but Sylvia Plath from 1950, she's a alumna from 1955.
Yep.
She had lived there for a year. She also lived in another house called Lawrence that I found out. And she resided on the 3rd floor. And Sylvia is rumored to haunt Haven House.
oh,
And they say the ghost of her tormented soul floats around the house searching for the meaning of life.
that absolutely tracks.
Right.
Especially
Do you
with
know
how-
about Sylvia?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I was going to go into, like, I knew about Sylvia a little bit, but more detail about her because
Yeah.
she really did have a tormented life, unfortunately. When she was 8, her father died from complications of a leg amputation. Like, it wasn't expected that he was going to die, and then he
Yeah.
died. And it was a week and a half after her 8th birthday.
Ugh.
And at that point, she was raised Unitarian and she just lost all of her faith.
Yeah.
And so in effort to deal with her father's loss, she started started writing poetry. And then
At 8?
yes, and
Damn.
published her first poem at the age of 8 in the Boston Herald Children's section.
Wow.
She graduated from Bradford Senior High in 1950, which later became Wellesley High. And she had her first national publication in the Christian Science Monitor.
Oh.
She then went to Smith for college. She edited the Smith Review, which maybe was like either maybe it's like a literary magazine because
yeah.
it wasn't the Sophian. And I imagine that's been the Sophian since the beginning.
Sure.
She then got a coveted position as a guest editor at Mademoiselle magazine, which she was like really, really looking forward to. But it wasn't what she thought it was going to be.
Sure. Yeah, it was probably like, let's teach you how to be a housewife.
And maybe, but they also interviewed Dylan Thomas, the poet, and that was her favorite poet at the time. And they didn't invite her to the meeting. Like, I think she thought she'd get to have this opportunity to meet him.
Yeah.
And she didn't. She was really kind of in despair over that. She would like go down to like the hotel, Chelsea Hotel. And there's one other place that the White Horse, like tavern or something.
Yeah.
That he frequented looking for him. And unfortunately, like she definitely had mental health issues. And when she couldn't meet him, she would like slash up her legs just to see if she could harm herself, to see if she would be afraid of death. She then didn't get accepted she wanted to do this writing seminar at Harvard with this writer, Frank O'Connor, and she didn't get accepted. So she really struggled with her mental health. She had severe depression. And at that point, she made her first attempt to kill herself.
Yeah.
She had several like forms of treatment, like through like ECT, like electric shock. They also did like insulin shock therapy
My God.
back then, which is basically would like send you into a coma,
Yeah.
thinking that would help you, and it really didn't.
No, it doesn't do shit.
She was in a psychiatric hospital for 6 months, and then she was actually able to return. So I don't want it to be all dark because she was able to return back to Smith, and she graduated summa cum laude, and she had an IQ of 160. She received a
Whoa.
yeah, no, she was a very bright woman. Just
Yeah.
she struggled, like mental health is real.
Sure, sure.
And she received a Fulbright scholarship to attend Newnham College in Cambridge. And then she continued to write poetry and published in a school paper there. But when she was in 1956, when she was in England, she met her future husband, Ted Hughes. So in 1956, she married Ted Hughes, and he was a fellow poet, and he actually became the Poet Laureate of the United Kingdom, which is a huge honor from 1984 to 1998.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was a famous poet in his own right.
Right.
She returned to the United States from 1957 to 58 and actually taught at Smith College, but left a short time after that to focus on her own writing.
Yep.
She had 2 children, but she miscarried a 3rd child. And
That probably sent her right over the edge.
and yes, and also the way she miscarried is because her husband allegedly beat her 2 days before the miscarriage. So their marriage was not great. In fact,
Nope. He was a dickhead.
yeah. In fact, in 1962, she found out he was having an affair with her, with a married woman who they rented their flat out in London to.
No.
Yeah, at this point, she made another attempt to kill herself by driving her car into a river, and she survived. And then she and Hughes separated in 1962. And unfortunately, in February of 1963, she was successful in killing herself through carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah.
And I think people can look up how she did that. The eerie part, also at the time of the death, that other woman he was cheating on her with was pregnant with his child.
What a fucking dickhead.
So she had a really, really rough,
Yeah.
horrible life. Unfortunately, she was only 30 when she passed. And the reason why there's this eerie connection, though, I don't know if it was intentional. She went to Smith, right? And I imagine these stories are shared about how ghosts die. it's an eerie connection to the student Jean Robison, who died of asphyxiation from carbon monoxide poisoning from the gas stove being on. And that is how
Sylvia Plath died.
yes. So it's just a very eerie connection. And so there wasn't more about her hauntings, except they believe she haunts there. They've allegedly seen her, but it was just that one like flippant comment. And I'm like, but this woman had such like a very difficult life.
Right.
So, and again, there are, this is the 1960s, 50s and 60s is when she was dealing with this. And, mental health treatment has come so far now.
Right.
And there's like more support and more advocacy for women and more, strength. So I hope she's finding peace in the afterlife and that she really there isn't a ton of documentation of her ghost there. Just it is said that she's there. So I'm hoping that she deserves to find peace.
Absolutely.
She is credited with advancing the genre of confessional poetry and is best known for the Colossus and Other Poems from 1960, Ariel 1965, and The Bell Jar, which is a semi-autobiographical novel published shortly before her suicide in 1963. Her collected poems were published in 1981, including previously unpublished works. And for this collection, she was awarded a Pulitzer Prize in Poetry in 1982, making her the fourth to receive this honor posthumously.
Wow.
So I just wanted to give her a little credit. She was a smart woman and very creative. And
I wonder what happened to her kids, because they would still be alive today, right?
Yeah, her daughter is alive, but unfortunately her son committed suicide as well. So,
Yikes.
Mental health really struggled in your family. And when you have one person in your family that's committed suicide, there's a higher rate or chance statistically that could happen.
Yes.
So if you know anybody, it's best to try to support them and
or if
get
you're
them
struggling, get help.
Remember, there's 988 people can call. So
yes.
Okay. So the last story related to Smith College is creepy, but it's not necessarily a ghost story.
Oh God.
I don't know if I'm going to tell you how it happens because it might just be of this time period, but we were around during this time period. But it's called The Whispering Woman, and it happened. Well, this was an article written on smith.edu, like on their college safety. And it's from 2002 to 2003. It's called A Phone Call and a Whisper.
Ugh, yuck.
It's nearly 2 a.m. and the campus is dark, quiet, and cold. One of the last students' lights goes out, leaving a sleepy stillness that accommodates their slumber. Then the phone rings. "Are you awake?" whispers a woman's voice.
No, I
her.
am now.
Yeah, it's her, the whispering woman. So by phone, she's always haunted students for years in the early hours, like either very late at night, early hours in the morning, looking for conversation, sometimes asking for personal information. Her midnight phone calls have become legend amongst Smith students, and nobody knows who she is. So sometimes it's mundane chatter, sometimes it's unraveled into harassment, and sometimes it's sexual. Like, it's all over. Like,
oh my God.
So Jacqueline Broder of 2006 said she got the call, as students refer to as a solicitation from the Whispering Woman, shortly after arriving in Smith. She goes, "I answered and I was a little groggy. This woman messed up my REM cycle."
Yeah.
She was talking in such a whisper that I couldn't understand what she was saying. I hung up and she called back twice. And then she called someone else and I could hear the phone going off down the hall.
Ugh.
Erica Moore, who graduated in 2004, handled a call last year. So this article was written in 2005 then. When she answers, she just whispers hello. And then Erica said she's afraid of ghosts and stuff, so she just hung up the call.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was like the woman like confessing that she's afraid.
I'm afraid of ghosts.
Just random stuff that she says.
Okay.
So at this time, public safety staff members have been working to resolve the Whispering Woman for years. Like they had said, so this is 2005 when it was written, that the problem has been going on for 10 plus years. The anonymous caller typically calls one campus extension and then continues calling all the extensions of 1 or 2 floors in a residence at night. And because there's no way because of the way the phone system is set up, it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to trace the calls.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this is still an issue now because like everybody has cell phones, but it's similar to we talked about the ghost calls at UMO,
right? And
how there still are landlines, but maybe the woman who's doing this, if she is, alive, like in her human body, knock
it off.
Yeah. And maybe she just isn't getting as much of a rise out of people because of cell phones. you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
then like now you're looking at like arbitrary phone numbers from people from all over the country
Right.
or the world, depending on where they're coming from. Right.
Right. This is interesting. Because, like prank calls and stuff, we don't really see much, but somebody did get my number a couple of weeks back when I was hanging out with two of our close friends, Elsie and Kate. And I kept getting calls over and over again. And at first I ignored them because I usually ignore calls that I don't know, but they called me. It was a local number. And I thought, oh God, maybe Tony is on the road.
Yeah.
Something happened. So I answered it. But it wasn't like, it was definitely like a teenager, and it wasn't like your refrigerator's running. They're just like, oh, hey. And I was like, hey. And they're like, who's this? I'm like, no, who's this? And she's like, Victoria. I'm like, she's like, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to you. I was like, okay, thanks. Happy New Year. But then they kept calling me back and back again. And then, I got my brother to go and basically found her father on Facebook and figured out who it was. And then the father was like, I'm sorry. But it was interesting because they literally had to block the number because they were calling me like 6 times in a row. So I guess crank calls do still happen. But
yeah, I mean,
it's not as, I don't think it's as like, now that people have cell phones. I mean,
yeah, it's not as prevalent.
Yeah.
I mean, I had somebody FaceTime me. And I was
Randomly?
like, yes, randomly. And I was like, oh, this is weird. And Alex like ripped the phone out of my hand because you could see who it was.
Right.
And I was like, I have no idea who this is. Like it was a man.
Yeah.
And it was somebody that I recognized, but like someone that like I had met once and they were like dating somebody that I knew.
Right.
And so, but like I only knew this person through like dance or something like that.
Right.
And so he was like, hello. Alex answers his phone. I'm like, I have no idea who that is. He's like, oh, hey, is Kathy there? And I was like, he was like, well, who is this? And he's like, oh, I'm her cousin. And he was like, no, you're not. Like, not at all.
That's weird.
Yeah. And so, but like they kept going and they kept going and they kept going. And he was like, yeah, no, this is like, I'm looking for my cousin. And this is my cousin. And this is her name. And this is where she lives.
And he had your first and last name?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And yeah, he was like, no, you're not. You're absolutely not. Like 100% you are not.
So I guess prank calls still like happen.
Yeah.
But it is kind of, it's strange. And like public safety was like, please don't answer any calls that you don't recognize, hang up,
Yeah.
And so that's a legend of the Whispering Woman. And she definitely is one of like the lore of like Smith colleges. Like people would talk about the Whispering Woman as well, which is kind of creepy. I just don't know how much that happens anymore.
Well, and part of me also wonders too, like if there is going to like be like would there be someone who to FaceTime? Like, why would you do that? Because then you have your face there, right?
Right.
So like it's such a weird thing. And subsequently,
that is like really ballsy to do that.
Right.
Like, you
That's
can't
what I'm saying.
hide behind anything.
But that same person that called, like maybe a year later, I found out that person who I'm assuming it's the same person. It's entirely possible it's not, but it would be very, very coincidental that they look exactly like, passed away.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That is really weird.
Yeah.
So wait, this is the boyfriend of a person you went to school, like dance school with?
Yeah. somebody that I knew, like
Did you ever ask them about it?
No, because like we hadn't talked in a long time. And I was like, oh, that's so weird.
It wasn't
and,
like your dance classes you're still taking, right?
And I think, no.
No, okay.
And it was something that was like, it was so random and it never happened again. Like it wasn't like I was getting text messages or calls. Like there was no harassment.
Yeah.
So part of me was like, I wonder if they really thought that they were calling their cousin. Like, maybe we just happened to have the same name, right?
Yeah.
Like who knows?
Right. And your name is pretty, like it's
a pretty common name.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so maybe it was just a really weird coincidence.
Yes. And but it had never happened after that. Like I've never received anything like that. I've gotten calls that are like, or text messages I got a text message once that was like, oh, Bible study group is meeting in this place at this time. And I was like,
no, that's not me. Yeah.
I'm not the one.
So sometimes there's those phishing texts, and you'd never want to click on any links or anything like that.
Right. And I was like, no, you have the wrong. I'm like, oh, but I didn't respond.
They've upped their ante and how they can prank us and texting, and they don't have to do like
they don't really
prank calls on a landline anymore.
Right. They can just send all that shit in or whatever. But yeah, so I didn't text, and they texted back, and they're like, are you going to meet for Bible study? And I was like, no.
Yeah, I've had random weird texts like that. I'm like, nope, you're not talking to me.
And then they were like, oh, is this Diane? And I was like,
no.
They were like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was looking for Diane. And like, Diane hasn't come to Bible study group. And I was like, well, that's because you've been inviting me to Bible study.
He You have the wrong number.
Yes.
Unless she randomly gave him your number just to avoid Bible study.
Well, I don't even know a Diane, but
Yeah.
thanks, Diane.
So that's it for Smith College. I got my resources at ghostwalks.com, at Tripping on Legends, Haunted Tradition. So tripandlegends.com, smith.edu, and then blogs.smith.edu, which is where Smithopedia is. If you guys are interested, go on to their website because you can see everybody's, stories and how they're documented and the dates. So that's pretty cool.
That is crazy.
Yes.
And that's it for
School Spirits 201.
Yeah.
For right now, anyways.
We want to thank you guys for offering up all these schools and being so responsive to the series, because like we just did it for fun, like thinking, oh, what could we do next? So the fact that we had several people reach out to be like, oh, you have to check out this school, you have to check out this school. It was really cool. And it gave us an opportunity to dig into some other places in New England that we probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Right.
So we got some really interesting story and some interesting history of New England. So thank you so much. And it doesn't mean, so if your school didn't get featured, it doesn't mean that it couldn't possibly get featured. But if you're listening to the series and you're like, oh, you've got to check out my school and it's not in New England, that's totally fine. You know, we can always do a resurgence of this series, a 302 or 303 or whatever.
Right.
In the future. So definitely let us know if you have any strange experiences at your school, whatever university
it's so
you
cool to
attended.
hear like people that we know or know of and like telling us their experiences too.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to read about them, but like then to really hear it and kind of know a little bit about that
Right.
person or have the detail that you can have when somebody like writes you in about it. It's really cool.
Yes, because once I get like all my shit together and my notes for this round 2, we'll do an update on Salve Regina as a completely separate episode. So
Yes.
Yeah. So check that out. And then next week we're going to start actually talking about, so like, one of the things that we both kind of like really hit, Melly and I, was the idea of like New Year's resolutions and how we didn't do any New Year's resolutions because wintertime is actually an opportunity for you to go inward. And so we've been really going inward, and that kind of led us to the concept of talking about shadow work. And so next week we're going to be talking about shadow work. What is it? And we'll probably do a part 2 on how to get started in shadow work, if that's something that interests you. So stay tuned for that. If you're like, I've been hearing about shadow work everywhere, we've got the details.
Yes.
And until then, I'm Chat.
And I'm Melly.
And we invite you
To explore the lighter side.
of the other side.
Bye.
Bye.
In Between the Veil podcast is a production of It's Always a Production Media in association with Powers Media. Hosted by Chat Mills and Melly Twilo. Theme music by John Hookstra. Edited by Austin Mills. Artwork by Vacationlander. Sound engineering by DJ Tons of Fun. We thank you for listening and would be forever in your debt if you provide a like and a 5-star review on whichever platform you are listening on. For more laughter and spooks, we invite you to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at In Between the Veil Podcast. Until next time, we invite you to explore the lighter side of the other side.